Hi, my name is Sydney Brown, and this is my digital video presentation. I chose Chapter 11, which is Central America, and I will be mostly focusing on Costa Rica. However, still giving a little bit of a presentation on Central America itself. So at the beginning of the 19th and 20th centuries, um, unlike South America or Mexico, Central America was generally ignored by the United States. And while the countries themselves are smaller in size than the countries in which the US took a greater interest, such as Argentina and Brazil, they were also less desirable as a result of their reputation of being less developed. So, dictatorships governed most Central American nations, and the countries were dependent on exports. They were known as the banana republics. They were considered sleepy countries, so revolts and turmoil were not expected in the 19th century, at least from a US perspective. Central America before the 19th and 20th centuries has a long and interesting history. And I think the biggest way to kind of divide that up would be between pre-colonial and post-colonial time. So pre-colonial being the time in which the country's native inhabitants, the Indians, ruled, versus the time following the arrival of the Spanish in 16th century. Okay. Unlike some other larger Indian empires, the natives of Central America lived in stable, autonomous communities and engaged in trade with one another. This was pre-colonial, like 1000 to 500 BC. And in about 500 BCE, a relatively advanced civilization appeared in the highlands of Guatemala and El Salvador. After that, Nahuatl settlements later followed, which came from Mexico, and then classic Mayan culture appeared in northern Guatemala. So the Mayan Empire ruled Central America and peaked between 600 to 900 Common Era. And then from that point forward, it just kind of is a bit of a gray area between pre-colonial, post-colonial. So where I kind of divided it was 1501, the arrival of the Spanish in what's now Panama. So Mexico was already established at the time. However, Spain was succumbing to pressure to further explore the New World. And explorer Hernan Cortes sailed south of Mexico and discovered Honduras. And that was the beginning of the colonization of Central America. So in the mid-16th century, the Spanish crown established the Kingdom of Guatemala as part of New Spain. The kingdom included Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, and Belize. So like I said, I will be focusing more on Costa Rica, but I thought the history of other Central American countries was really important because they all kind of went through the same thing at the same time. They mirrored much of what Costa Rica experienced, but they also impacted each other as well. So after the arrival of the Spanish in Central America, I think it's important to note that the church was at the heart of Spanish society at the time, which obviously, but the explorers also acted as missionaries in their conquests on behalf of the throne. So that entire exploration during the Renaissance era was all driven by the church. However, in accordance with what was happening elsewhere, as these nations began to revolt and establish political autonomy, this led to the development of political parties, predominantly liberals and conservatives. So going into just Costa Rica, a few basic things. Costa Rica is located in the southern portion of the Central American Isthmus that connects North America to South America, and it's bordered by Nicaragua in the northwest and Panama in the southeast. So, like most Central American countries, other than El Salvador and Belize, the country has two coasts, the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. So, interesting enough, from a distance, you would think that Costa Rica directly borders Lake Nicaragua, but there was a bit of an argument there, and Nicaragua claimed the entire border of the lake as its own. So if you look at a map, there's actually just a 2-mile stretch between Lake Nicaragua and the Costa Rican border. Costa Rica is divided into 7 provinces, with the capital San Jose located inland in the San Jose province. and San Jose is both a provincial and national capital of the country. Costa Rica is currently establishing itself as a leader in renewable energy sources, and it prides itself in its biodiversity. They also have 4.8 million people, but currently it's one of the most politically stable countries in Latin America. This was a long road, though. So historically, Costa Rica had to gain independence practically 3 times, once from Spain, from that New Spain, once from Mexico, and then finally from the Federal Republic of Central America. So Costa Rica's development originally followed that of its neighboring countries in the aftermath of the Spanish arriving in Central America, and it became part of the United Provinces of Central America. After disagreement and discord, they separated from Spain in a relatively peaceful fashion, gaining political independence. They then became part of the independent Mexican Empire in 1821, following the Mexican War of Independence, and then subsequently became part of the Federal Republic of Central America in 1823, before gaining full independence in 1838. So the Costa Rican economy, after they gained independence, struggled due to a lack of connections with European suppliers. In 1856, Costa Rica resisted American settlers for mounting a takeover of the government during the filibuster war that was going on in Nicaragua when American William Walker took over Nicaragua. A prominent figure of that time period was Juan Santamaria, who was a drummer in the Costa Rican army, and he's currently officially recognized as a national hero of the country for his actions in the Second Battle of Rivas and the Filibuster War. He died in battle, carrying a torch that he used to light the enemy's stronghold on fire, securing a victory for Costa Rica against William Walker and imperialist forces. And 35 years after his death, he began to be idealized. He was used as a propaganda tool to inspire Costa Rican nationalism. And today, there is currently a national holiday in Costa Rica, Juan Santamaria Day, and it's held on April 11th. But anyways, right after that, in 1869, Costa Rica established a democratic government. After the Costa Rican Civil War in 1948, the government drafted a new constitution guaranteeing universal suffrage and dismantling of the military. So this was really important because during the whole Cold War era, Costa Rica remained relatively unaffected by that because they were viewed as, while not really politically neutral, as far as having a military, they were no threat to anybody. So while Costa Rica did feel the effects of the Cold War in the 20th century, as far as there just was no violence because they don't have a military. Although poverty has declined since the turn of the 20th century, economic problems still exist. So Costa Rica is facing problems of underemployment, foreign and internal debt, and a trade deficiency. But currently they are one of the most politically stable countries in Central America, and it's the most visited country in Central America every year, except this year. Yeah, that's just a history of Costa Rica, a history of Central America, and thank you so much for listening.